This is a huge game for the Jets and Broncos as they come into week 6, both looking for a win. The Jets looking for their first win of the season, while the Broncos are trying to continue and get started on a win streak for once in this season after 2 arc-breaking losses, but a huge win against the defending champs. I am joined here by Matt Long from Jets Digest, and I am Sebastian with Broncos Digest. Welcome, everybody, to a joint episode between our two Digest channels. But how are we doing, Matt? How has it been for you? I'm sure vibes aren't the greatest with Jets Nation, but overall, how are we doing?
So I'm doing pretty good myself, in my own personal life. My professional fan career, the New York Jets, it could not be going worse.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's strange for the Jets because they had a new regime change, new quarterback, new coach. Did y'all get a new GM? I'm not sure, but overall, there's been a lot of regime changes for the Jets this past offseason.
Yeah, so we picked up a new head coach, Aaron Glenn, and a new general manager, Darren
Okay.
Muji. What was weird is we picked up the head coach before the general manager, which
Right.
is usually not how it's done, but I certainly think the New York Jets are going into the year at least. I was confident that they got the number one head coaching option for them out of the guys that were available in the head coaching pool because Mike Vrabel would have been a better head coach, but he didn't have any interest in going to the Jets. The best guy who was available who wanted to go to the Jets was Aaron Glenn. Right now there are a ton of question marks, which are deserved,
Yeah.
whether or not he's doing a good enough job. And we gotta give him some time and see how it works out. But certainly it has not been up to par. It hasn't been up to what we have been expecting it would be so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, y'all have a talented roster where the 0-5 does not fit the roster talent that is there. And Aaron Glenn, while he has strong press conferences, I feel like overall, if he's supposed to be a defensive-minded guy, we're not seeing that being portrayed on the field. So we're all kind of wondering what's happening in the background there, and why are maybe things not going as well as they should be. But I mean, this will be an interesting game because neither team are at home. I think London really. I think we both have experiences with our teams going to London for these kind of games. But at the same time, I don't think either of our teams have like a huge presence in London, so it shouldn't be like one super favored crowd wise in the stadium. So that should be fairly interesting. But overall, obviously, Broncos are favored for this game. The NFL, I think, did a clean sweep for the Broncos. Coming off of beating the Eagles, that's probably to be expected. But at the same time, I've always gone by the mantra of any given Sunday, which is why I actually felt that this game, more than anything, is a trap game for the Broncos, and the Jets are pretty desperate for their first win. Now, they're not necessarily trying to save their season like for the playoffs or anything, but they want to prove to themselves that they can win a game in the NFL. These are all professionals, that they have still some honor that they want to defend, and that's why no game should be taken easy, and I still expect a battle in London. But overall, though, where is your overall worry, maybe your strength and your weakness, biggest weakness and strength for the Jets so far this season?
So you asked a question earlier about Aaron Glenn. You said correctly he's a defensive guy. He was a defensive back for the New York Jets a while ago, but you're wondering how could the defensive coaching be so bad, and that's because Aaron Glenn hasn't taken a particular notice on offense or on defense. He wants to be a head coach and overall game manager, and he wants his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators to call the plays for their side of the football and to handle their side of the football. And so far, the defensive coordinator, our new pickup for this season, Stephen Wilkes, absolutely has not answered the call. He has been someone who is on the hot seat. I've seen, on ESPN shows every morning, people are saying this guy already needs to be fired, and I absolutely agree with them. So you're asking, what is their biggest weakness? Right now, their biggest weakness is definitely the defensive coordinator. The defenses, they're too easy to read pre-snap.
Yeah.
They don't change enough after the ball snapped, so it's not hard enough for the quarterback of the opposing team to play against the New York Jets, and it's why we have great players like Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, and everyone's still able to move the football far too easily on this defense. We're just way too talented. We've had some injuries, but at this point of the year, everyone has had injuries. It feels like this year it's not super bad for catastrophic injuries, but it feels like almost every single player, if you play fantasy football, you will definitely feel this. It feels like every single player is dealing with a little bit of something that
Yeah.
any given week they could be out. And you were talking about how any given Sunday, and I feel like this year that mantra is more true than ever before because it feels like going after week one, we go the Packers are the best team, and then they lose to the Browns, and then 2 weeks later we're like the Chargers are the best team, and then they drop some games, and now we're like we don't even know who the best team is. So
Right.
what you said before, everyone's professionals. The gap between the top teams and the bottom teams, it's never really as pronounced as people like to believe it is, or as people
Yep.
might perceive it as. But like all these teams are really, really good. It does come down to coaching a lot. Right now, the coaching for the New York Jets has not been good enough. What they said they're going to correct our penalties, also one of our biggest problems. But so far, we are committing more penalties this season, 8.4 penalties per game, than we were last season in a coaching nightmare where we committed only 8.1 penalties per game. So it's real bad.
Yeah, I mean it's a really unfortunate back-to-back seasons for the Jets, and to be honest, past few decades. But I mean, like last season, I just saw Jets fans in particular talking about how frustrating it was because of Aaron Rodgers and the promise of that team, and really things going south pretty quickly. And I'll be completely honest, I think that the Broncos Jets game of last year broke the Jets. I thought that they were much more talented and prepared at the time, the Jets that being, and the fact that they had lost a 10-9 game to the Broncos and Bo Nix's like first touchdown pass in week 4 like made them fire. I think was it after that game or the following week where they fired Robert Saleh, but it was overall like just
He was already gone at that point, I think.
I think so. I think
No, see, we got
yeah.
fired after week 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was week 4, week 5-ish, but I'm pretty sure Saleh was coaching the Broncos Jets game. But anyway, like overall, that was kind of the beginning of the end of like where just things started to crumble apart. And now we are where we are, where not Geno. I was thinking of Geno for some reason. Justin Fields is now the quarterback of the New York Jets. There was Tyler Taylor there for a second there, but it's Justin Fields now with Aaron Glenn. And Garrett Wilson's doing his best, but at the same time, with no real wide receiver 2 for the Jets. I mean, maybe you could make an argument otherwise. It feels like they're struggling offensively to match whatever offense they're facing because the defense is giving up so much. Like you said, Steve Wilkes, actually a previous coordinator for the Broncos. I was upset when he left, and now it's like we're doing great. It's just funny how the NFL works. You never know what's around door 2. So, but I wanted to quickly just switch over here to what Bo Nix was talking about going into this game. He said that I think in the league, quite honestly, it's a little disrespectful to consider anybody a trap team. They're an NFL team, and they're going to have some really good players on their defense, and it's not really a trap game. I think any game you can walk in and slip up and lose, that's just the league. If you're not careful in a way, all of them could be because they're that good of an opponent. They've been close on some games. They were a couple of walk-off plays away from having 2 or 3 wins. And I completely agree. And then going to Sean Payton here, he says, we were hoping to get a London game because this type of experience with your team is, I think, really positive. And it's certainly an easier trip coming off a win, that being for the Broncos. So I think this all leads to the fact that Sports Illustrated actually picked the Jets to have an upset over the Broncos this week. Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated that particularly, and I thought that was interesting because London is weird. That's the particular quote from that article that I thought was interesting. That almost anything can happen there, and there's a lot of examples of just overseas games not really going the way you thought it would. The Chargers beating the Chiefs, for example, earlier in the season. Now, some people might think that's not a mistake. I do as a Broncos fan. I've been tortured by the Chiefs long enough where I think that that was an upset and not particularly normal. But I do think that overseas games really don't lend to the most normal of NFL games or more predictable of NFL games. So I kind of want to just kind of take it back to you. Do you sense any upset alert for the Jets going into this game, or is it more of we'll just see what happens?
I wish I wish I could tell you that I was feeling an upset alert, but absolutely not because last week the New York Jets offense ran up against the Dallas Cowboys defense, which has been letting absolutely everyone go crazy against them. And at halftime, the New York Jets only had 3 points.
Yeah.
So the offense is not working. The defense isn't working. And if we are in a close game, which, Bo Nix was right. Week 1 was close for the Jets against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and so was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game.
Mm-hmm.
But those close games come down to coaching, and there is zero question who the better coach is in this game between Sean Payton and Aaron Glenn. I'm hoping that Aaron Glenn is going to get the ship steered in the right direction, but as of today, Sean Payton miles ahead of him coaching wise. I do think Bo Nix was talking about how there aren't any trap games in the NFL, and I think there are trap games, but you got to be like one of the top 3 teams in the league
Sure.
facing like a bottom 3 team, and it has to be after week 7 of the season because we're still early enough in the season where we don't know, or we have a good idea, but we don't know for sure who the top teams are and who the
Yeah.
bottom teams are. And like no disrespect, I don't think the Broncos are going to be like a top 3 team. I don't think they're going to
Oh
be,
yeah, no
the
problem.
favorites in the AFC or anything crazy
Yeah.
like that. So I don't think with the talent gap or how small that talent gap is, I don't think there is a trap game for the Broncos, but I do think a better team, would get a trap game. But the New York Jets are not a team that you would be trapped against because they really haven't shown you any reason to actually fear them. Now,
Yeah.
the pass rush is going to get a lot better with Jermaine Johnson in the game,
Yep.
or more as when he's not in, the pass rush disappears completely. But
Wow.
when he is in, we actually have like a really decent pass rush. So, I mean, you could say, he was a first round pick. They're supposed to have really high impacts, but he's not a guy who like runs up sacks. So it's kind of interesting why that happens, but I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to be happy that he's back, and hopefully we can get after Bo Nix this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, as someone who's been watching a lot of Bo Nix football, he has a frustrating amount of plays where he tends to throw off platform, not set his feet, and panic a little bit too early in a play. So if the pass rush is succeeding in that way, there's a good chance that you can cause a lot of disruption for the offense and maybe get some turnovers. Speaking of turnovers, though, I do believe that the Jets are the only team this season without a turnover, which is wild to say because that's I think pretty abnormal at this point in an NFL season. And for a defensive coach, supposedly, you would think that they could muster 1 turnover. I would consider, though, that blocked kick returned for a touchdown as a turnover personally, but still in the sense of like causing a fumble, causing an interception. I guess none of those have been recorded yet. So that's a matter of eventually it'll happen, just the nature of football. Eventually something will be recorded, but at the same time, you gotta wonder what's kind of going on there. Is it Steve Wilks? Is it Aaron Glenn? Who's responsible for that? Because at some point when you just aren't winning games, fingers are going to be pointed. Someone's going to be held accountable for that. And when it comes to like trusting the Broncos defense versus the Jets defense, it's going to be the Broncos defense at this point in time, just because of how the way that the Broncos were able to come out of Philly with a win. If the Jets are able to come away with a win, though, against the Broncos on Sunday, then maybe the conversation will turn a little bit. Steve Wilks won't have to like be looking over his shoulder for, am I going to get fired? Because I do think the Broncos are considered one of the better teams in the NFC, maybe not the top echelon like the Bills or the Chiefs. Weirdly enough, we have a better record than the Chiefs, but I don't think anyone would be picking the Broncos over the Chiefs currently. It's still kind of like that weird murky area. Like you said, week 6, you don't really know for sure who these teams are. So this is a good identity game for the Broncos, in my opinion. Kind of winning a game that you should win, like we won against the Bengals. But I'm with Bo Nix. If you treat this game lightly, if anyone treats this game lightly, you will be punished for it. That's just the nature of the NFL. It's so easy to ride high off of beating the defending champs, finally beating the Eagles when they haven't been beaten in so long, that you're satisfied with that win, and whatever happens next will like completely blindside you because you're like, oh wait, this other team's trying to get their first win. They're trying to actually like prove themselves as a legit threat, and so that's what I worry about. Is that's just, can Sean Payton keep his players in check? Can he keep the culture in the right place? And especially on a trip like this, I think they traveled to London right after the Philly game, so they've hopefully adjusted to London time and everything. But I hope everyone's kind of focused for that, just as a Broncos fan, because I can very easily see this game, at least at the beginning, getting away from them, because I actually think linebacker-wise, the Broncos are a bit struggling right now. Alex Singleton being our starting running back, Dre Greenlaw is on IR. We're waiting for him to get back. So I actually think the Jets are going to be able to take advantage of that because we don't have a good linebacker to be a QB spy for Justin Fields. Justin might be able to run around a lot. That's why he's such a good fantasy quarterback, despite maybe not being like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That he can run all over the place and really make people miss, and that's what I worry about. not the strongest tackling team. We're good in terms of our pass rush, but we're not as good with zone coverage or covering guys who are good at making guys miss, playmakers that being. But we are good defending the pass. We are good when it's just a straight-up run. It's just a matter of, can the Jets dial up something offensively that the Broncos aren't expecting? Now, that's kind of where I want to take it to you again. Offensively, how are you feeling about the Jets right now compared to last year? Do you see much of an improvement, or is it more of the same?
I mean, I would say it's not more of the same because it's just not the same style of offense. With Justin Fields being our quarterback, the rushing threat is completely different from Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, it's not improved. So I can't say I can't I have to, I can't pick one of those perfectly, but I mean, the offense still isn't good, and our offensive line is not playing as well as you think they would after we spend two two top 10 picks in back-to-back years. Well, I guess Olu Fashanu, our left tackle, was 11th overall, but we traded with the Vikings to go back one spot. So he's pretty much a top 10 pick as well. So two top 10 offensive tackles that aren't playing as well as you'd like to, versus I know you guys have two of the probably most underrated pass rushers in the entire National Football League coming after them. And if you do get the ball away, we only have one wide receiver, and you guys have the one, the only Patrick Surtain. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know the last time a defensive back won depoy. That is extremely impressive, and someone that we don't want to throw the ball anywhere near, but we will because we don't have a choice. And it's funny that earlier you brought up the stat that the New York Jets forced 0 turnovers through the first 5 weeks of the season. You said it felt like an oddity is the words you chose, and it certainly is an oddity. The last time that happened was 1933. So that's almost 100 years. I think that's 92 years.
Yeah.
Definitely not something that you want to be on the same side of. And you're wondering, well, who's to blame for these turnover differential? And the problem that what has to be to blame is there has to be someone on our sidelines putting butter on the ball when we're on offense and not doing it for the other team. Because for some reason, over the last 2 games, we have 2 red zone fumbles, and just like you said, haven't forced a single turnover. And it is an anomaly because the defense is bad, but not that bad. Just like you, we are greatly struggling with injuries in our linebacker core. We're down first-team All-Pro from 2 years ago, Quincy Williams, brother Quinnen Williams, and we're also down our other starting outside linebacker in Marcelino McCrary-Ball. He's not a household name. He's not a great player, but he is still our our other starting outside linebacker. So we're really hurting in that position as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that's going to affect you guys quarterback spy-wise, because I don't think fully healthy you guys don't have, no one other than the San Francisco 49ers with Fred Warner really have a good matchup for Justin Fields quarterback spy-wise.
Right.
You just want to, what you guys probably want to do is keep him in the pocket, make him into a passer, and say, we're not going to let the run beat us. You guys have to beat us with the pass, because the New York Jets, we saw 2 weeks ago, or at least I saw 2 weeks ago, against the Miami Dolphins. They came out and almost had a touchdown drive, only running the ball once. The drive ended when Braylon Allen fumbled on the goal line.
Yeah.
But they're going to try to do that to other teams. I understand you guys aren't soft like the Miami Dolphins are, so we're not going to be able to run the ball all just straight down the middle like that. But we're going to try to run the ball a ton because, one, it's our entire identity of our football team, and two, those the 2 pass rushers. It's Benito Jones or
Nick Benito, yeah.
Nick Benito. And then is it Bradley Cooper?
Or Jonathan Cooper, yeah.
Jonathan Cooper, okay.
Yeah,
pretty close. Yeah, but I mean, Cooper, he had so many sacks last year. I couldn't even believe. I remember going into that game versus the Jets, I told Chris, my co-host on Jets Digest, I'm like, do you know who the NFL current leader in sacks is? He's like, no. I'm like, it's this dude from the Broncos that no one ever talks about.
Yep.
And this year they're playing even better and still no one talks about him.
Yeah. Nick Benito quite simply is in the Defensive Player of the Year race right now. And we've talked about on Broncos Digest the fact that the last time there were back-to-back depoys on the same team with different players was Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. So that'd be quite the combination if we are able to do it ourselves. But, Nick Benito, we were thankfully able to pay him before the season because, boy, would he be asking for more money at this point. He is on pace to break the sack record. Well, I mean, we'll see if he does it. We're all hoping he does, but we'll see what Justin Fields is able to do against our defense. To be fair, though, if he's not able to do much, it's no slouch against him because not many teams have been able to do much against him. I really, at this point, can only tip my hat to Justin Herbert because he led a game-winning touchdown drive against us. But we'll see him again, and hopefully we can get some revenge on that. And I have to ask, though, just before we probably finish up here, the Patriots being kind of back, it seems like a little bit right now. How does that feel as a Jets fan? Is it torturous? Is it just more of like, it feels like more of the same? Or are you glad that the Bills maybe have someone to, compete with because, they've been kind of dominating that division for a while?
Yeah, I'm not fully convinced the Patriots are back.
Okay.
They played a good game against the Buffalo Bills, but I don't think you can say the same for Josh Allen played well, but the Bills played very poorly.
That's
committed
true.
a ton of penalties, fumbled the ball multiple times. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
Drake May is playing really, really well.
Yeah.
I'll hand it to Drake May. Outside of that, they have the fumble factory in Ramondre Stevenson. They have, Diggs, who is like, he is what he is. Their receivers aren't that good. Their offensive line's not that good.
Okay.
I don't think they're back yet, but I would rather see anyone else in the division win other than the New England Patriots. If it's not gonna be the Jets, definitely don't want it to be the Patriots. Not ready for that to happen again.
No.
They're they start off really slow, but you can clearly see Mike Vrabel putting his stamp on that team, and they're playing a lot better now.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're better than Buffalo, even if they did win last Sunday night.
Fair enough. I do agree. I still have Buffalo winning that division, but it does look like the Patriots are on an upward trajectory at the very least, especially better than last year. But the Dolphins, I would even argue, despite the Jets being 0-5, I think the Dolphins are looking even worse than the Jets. And I know that the Jets lost to the Dolphins, but at the same time, I don't think that that's indicative of the trajectories of the teams. The Jets had a complete overall, while the Dolphins are kind of like on the dying end of something. So that's kind of how I feel about those two teams. And I think Aaron Glenn is a great person. I don't know how he is as an head coach, so we'll see. But I'm rooting for the guy. His dance along the sideline when that blocked field goal happened with the Bucs was really funny. So he has personality there. A lot more enjoyable to watch than Robert Saleh's blank face whenever something bad is happening.
Well, it was only bad, and it wasn't his. At least with like Aaron Glenn, a lot of the stuff's his fault. With Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers should have thrown the ball away on that play towards Achilles.
Yep.
It was an RPO. It
Yep.
was a chop block, and the good part about the chop block is you're pretty much guaranteed to get a block.
Mm-hmm.
But the bad part is the guy's guaranteed to get right back up, and it's a short-term block.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers got to get rid of it. Can't hang on to it there.
Yep. So, I mean, in the end, I do think that the London game will be interesting. I think that these two teams, I think the Broncos are still working on figuring out who they are, despite beating the Philadelphia Eagles. And I called that a very signature win for the Broncos. I don't think that they're done working out their kinks yet. I just because we had 3 quarters of struggling and figuring out.
I don't think there's a single team in the NFL right now that's done working stuff out.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Right now, every team's gettable.
Yep, fair enough. So that's why I would never be like, oh, this is like a slam dunk pick, like the Broncos are absolutely going to win. I don't think that at all. I actually think it's respectable for people to say, oh, the Jets are going to upset the Broncos, because I think our offense right now is just that volatile, and Bo Nix is still trying to figure out who he is and whether he is like a respectable quarterback in this league and one of the top quarterbacks from his draft class. We will see. Just going down the line, and but I'm excited to see it nonetheless. But any closing thoughts or questions before we leave? Or
well, I was just gonna say with the New York Jets so far, they outgained the Miami Dolphins by a ton. They played good football outside of the major mistakes against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. They played good football, and that would be good enough to beat Denver.
Yeah.
But so far, they've beaten themselves. Mm-hmm. And going into the game, 9:30 Eastern time on Sunday morning, right now we have no reason to believe that they're going to stop beating themselves. So I would say Broncos are right now a very, very easy pick.
I mean, I would understand the strong favoritism to pick the Broncos, but at the same time, I've watched the NFL for too long to just be like, oh, easy watch. Like so anyway, I'll be interested to see how things go. I weirdly am like hoping the Jets turn it around because I mean, do they currently have the longest playoff drought? Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Longest in North American sports. Not even
Oh,
just the NFL.
wow.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. I think the Dolphins, though, are struggling in terms of playoff wins, though. There, at least there's that.
A lot of teams struggle with playoff wins. That's somewhere where the
Yeah.
Jets don't struggle. I know the Raiders are really bad with that. The Dolphins are
Yep.
really bad with that.
Yeah.
Even like the Pittsburgh Steelers are kind of bad with that too.
Yep.
But in terms of getting there, it's impossible. Like I texted one of my friends last year. The NFL only has 31 teams because it's just so embarrassing that 15 years go by, 15 years go by, no playoffs like that. That's like you should at least luck into it one year.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, because every team has their down year. And then, especially now that there's 7 teams that make the playoffs, you would think that you'd sneak yourself in there.
Yep.
But, you never know. I mean, turnarounds happen. There's a long season left. So I'm excited to watch this game. But in the end, I'm Sebastian from Broncos Digest. This is Mark from Jets Digest. And make sure to check out both of our channels. We're doing, videos basically every day, covering the team, despite how good or bad that we're doing. But hopefully we have a good game on Sunday. And until next time, we'll see you then.